This video is for you if you plan to move home in Italy or even move to Italy in the first place, because I'm about to share with you some lessons that I have learnt from moving in Italy, updated for 2025. Because the last video I did like this was 2.5 years ago, I'll link it up here, when we moved from Salerno to Palermo. But as you will quickly discover, the longer you spend in Italy, the wiser you become. And now, as we are in the throes of moving once again, there are some new updated lessons that I need to share with you. So if you want to know how to move in Italy the right way, you need to watch this video. So the first thing that you are going to want to never, under any circumstances, ever do is move in the month of August. Let me explain. This is the huge mistake that we made 2.5 years ago when we moved from Salerno to Palermo, and it was a huge mistake for two main reasons. First and foremost, August is unbearably hot. It is by far one of the hottest months of the year, and all anybody can reasonably think about is going to the beach. It is so difficult to fathom the energy to do anything, let alone the stressful, hard-working process of moving home. It's just really, really difficult. And I struggled a lot that year when we moved home. It was just a sweaty, horrible mess. The second reason you are not going to want to move home in Italy in August is because it is really a holiday month in August. I liken it to being just a bit of a dead month because you have Ferragosto, which falls on the 15th of August every year. And this is a national Italian holiday. And so as a result, August tends to be the month when most Italians will take their holiday, however long that may be. So for some Italian people, it might be a week, 2 weeks, and for others, the entire month. And so what that means if you're moving home is that you're going to find certain shops and services closed for periods of time during the month of August. And this is undoubtedly going to delay your move. In fact, our move was really delayed by about 3 weeks because everything moved so much slower in August in Italy, and as a result we had to wait for services to resume, shops to reopen, and if we'd moved at another time of the year, for sure it would have been a much quicker process. So if you can avoid moving in the month of August, I really, really recommend it. The second thing you need to do is to get everything in writing. There is a proverb that goes something like, spoken words fly, written words remain. And it's really true. 2.5 years ago, when we moved from Salerno to Palermo, we took what we were told as gospel, and we didn't get certain things that were promised to us as part of this home in black and white. And so when it came to the day of signing the contract, we realized that those things were not detailed in the contract. And then we faced the kind of revelation that actually we were not going to get those things after all. And, it was never going to go anywhere. It was only ever going to be a battle of words, because without anything being in writing, who can prove what was said and when? No one. And so that was a huge lesson for us, because we had really been led to believe something. And I'm kind of surprised at myself, because I am so precise in everything that I do. But I really trusted these people, and I trusted that what they said to us was genuine. But it later transpired it wasn't. So, this is why you must always have your wits about you when you are signing any documents here, and when you are dealing with people here when it comes to moving. If it's not in writing, it's not happening. So please remember this philosophy, okay? Don't be stunned like we were. Make sure that you have everything in writing to protect yourself. The third thing that you really need to consider is that if you decide to go cheap with any part of your move, it's going to end up being way more expensive. This is a paradox that I actually talk about in this week's podcast episode. I'll link it up here if you want to have a listen. But essentially, whenever you are cheap in life, it always ends up costing you more money in the long run. And again, I've got a really recent example to share with you. So 2.5 years ago, when we moved here to Palermo, we made some cheap decisions. The move itself had been quite expensive. And so we decided to cut corners a little bit and not buy a brand new kitchen for our home. And so we bought a second-hand kitchen, and in doing so, it was already vintage, already a little bit old, but it seemed to be in pretty good quality. But now here we are 2.5 years later with a kitchen that really is on its last legs. It will not survive another move, and probably not much more use, to be honest with you. So I feel a little bit cheated, because I feel like we spent, although it was a good deal, it was still a few €100 on a kitchen that now we are going to have to recycle. So please don't go cheap. Only cut corners if it is absolutely worth it, and you're not going to end up regretting it in the future. Now we are paying twice, because the home we moved to, we are going to now need to buy a complete new kitchen suite. Whereas, if we'd been a bit wiser back when we first moved here to Palermo, we could have bought a newer kitchen suite and moved with that in the end. So really be clever with this. Invest in quality and not in the price tag, and try to think long term. A lot of decisions that we make when it comes to purchasing things are made in the short term, but you really need to think long term, because what is cheap and a great deal now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have the quality to last many years down the line. So really do consider that and learn from our mistake. Which leads me nicely into budgeting. You need to budget and then budget some more, because in my opinion, moving home in Italy is actually pretty expensive. Now, I think it's expensive in any part of the world that you move to, but there's something about the deposits that are required, especially if you're renting a property here in Italy, that makes everything so wildly expensive, in my opinion. If you're renting a home here in Italy, deposits can vary. Some landlords who are really super cautious might require you to leave at least a 6-month deposit, others 3 months. But on top of that, you'll always have to pay the first month's rent up front as well. So that's a lot of money that you're shelling out before you've even factored in any other costs associated with your move. And so I really do think you spend so much money when you move here in Italy. It's, it's big business, isn't it? So you've got to start saving and budgeting as soon as you can. Now, you're also going to need to think about the moving process as well, because a lot of buildings here in Italy are high-rise apartment style blocks. And as a result, if you need to move large items of furniture, sofas, beds, things like this, you're not actually able to transport them usually in the lift or the elevator in your building, because they're often quite small. It's not really feasible to carry it down 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 flights of stairs. So essentially what normally happens is you have to hire, within the cost of your moving services, this is usually covered by the moving company, mechanical ladders. This is what I call them. I'm sure there is a technical term for them, but essentially it is a piece of equipment that extends a ladder upwards with like a flat base, which they can then attach these really bulky items of furniture on, either out of your balcony itself or out of your window, and then they transport it back down to ground floor. Now, this is something you will see all over the place here in Palermo. Literally anybody who wants to move usually has to hire this kind of equipment. And, depending on how tall your building is, this could at least be an extra €200 that you have to factor in to the cost of your move. So yeah, that's something else that you have to think about. You've also got to think about the fact that, as I touched on before, you're likely to be moving into an absolute shell. Rental properties here in Italy are not to the best of standards, certainly not the same as they are in other countries. Like in the UK, for example, if you rent a home, most of the time it does come with a fitted kitchen suite and bathroom suite. But here in Italy, it is not the case. You will find a bathroom suite, in most cases, yes, although it may not be the newest suite that you've ever seen. But in terms of a kitchen suite, it's a bit hit and miss. Some homes might have a kitchen suite, but it's usually pretty old and vintage, or other homes won't have anything, and it will be down to you to buy your own kitchen, which is exactly what happened to us when we moved into this home here in Palermo. Now, it's not to say that you can't find fully furnished homes here in Italy, because you can, but you've got to remember that those kinds of homes are usually more of a premium price because everything is included, and they usually get snapped up pretty quickly because it is not a usual condition of rental properties here in this country. So everything is relative when it comes to that, I think. You might think you're getting a better deal because you don't have to buy all of the furniture to move home, but what you have to remember then is that you're likely to be paying more rent as a result. So yeah, there's always two sides to every situation, shall we say. But this is something else you're going to have to think about. You can find reasonably priced brand new kitchens and furniture that you might need here in Italy. But again, you want to be investing in quality. Don't be led by the price tag, because otherwise you might buy something that will not last you very long at all. Then you've got to get ready for the cleaning. Now, this isn't the same for every home in Italy, but certainly the last couple of homes I've lived in, we did not have a pre-tenancy clean before we moved in, which meant the cleaning fell on us to organise. Now, we're really lucky in that the home we're moving to in the Salerno province does include a clean, which I'm so happy about, because trust me, this is a big job. So the home here in Palermo, they stripped all the wallpaper off and painted the walls before we moved in, which was a wonderful thing because it was very, very vintage in this apartment. However, they didn't clean up anything, and the home was filled with white dust. And it took us at least a week with the help of a cleaner as well. So there were like 3 of us working on this apartment to have it clean enough for us to be able to unpack and move our things in. Like nearly a week. It was insane. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And bear in mind, we had those 40-degree temperatures as well back in August. So it's not easy, and it will be time consuming. So you've got to factor this in. Maybe you want to budget and kind of pay for a cleaner to come and do that work for you, because moving, gosh, it takes the energy out of you for sure. So if you've then got to factor in cleaning before you can even unpack anything, I think you might be better off getting some help in that way. But yeah, don't take it for granted. They are not always included when you rent a home here. And yeah, some of these homes can be pretty dirty, depending on how long they have been left unoccupied for and on what work has been done in the house itself. You need to plan. My favourite word is a double Virgo, but it's super important. Don't be thinking, oh, piano, slowly, let's adopt the Italian philosophy. No. When it comes to moving, you have to be organised, because you know what happens, don't you? It feels like you have weeks to go, and then all of a sudden moving day creeps up on you and it's here, and you're like, oh, crikey, I've got to get my act together. So make sure you start planning as soon as you can. There are so many aspects of your move to think about, from the transfer of services through to activating new utility companies, through to like who you're going to get to move your stuff, organising boxes, trying to understand what you're going to move with. Literally, there is so much you can get started on literally as soon as you decide that you want to move. And I really recommend that you do. Consider we will move at the end of March, and we have already made great progress. I've got a Google Docs document going on with everything that we need to do. I've got everything on my Google Calendar. I know, the double Virgo in me, I did tell you. And I know exactly what we need to do when, because I don't want to forget anything. I don't want to leave anything to the last minute. And, you know, you'll be surprised. Services do get booked up, especially moving companies. Spring seems to be a very popular time of the year for people to want to move here in Italy. So think ahead and book as soon as you can all of the major essential services that you need, and start packing and start decluttering and start organising as soon as you can. I promise you it's going to make a world of difference, because you will arrive at the point where time just flies, and then before you know it, it's time for you to say goodbye. And I guess the final piece of advice I want to give you, which is something that I'm constantly reminding myself of, especially in this period, is that moving is like turning the page and starting a new chapter. Sometimes you can feel a bit sad about the move, and I have had like moments where I felt quite emotional about leaving. And I specifically had this moment on Sunday when I was packing up my studio, because I was like, oh my goodness, I love this studio space. But then I just thought about the new house, and I was like, well, I'm still going to have a studio. It might look a bit different, but you know, maybe it could be better. And so I think with every move, you have learned something new from where you have lived before. And I think you can take those lessons and you can make the next chapter of your life even more beautiful. And I think that is the most important thing of all to remember when it comes to moving home. It's not the end. It's really just the beginning of a brand new chapter full of new, fresh adventures to have wherever it is you may be moving to. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and watch this video next. This is definitely going to help you, especially if you plan to rent here in Italy. And I'll see you in the next video.